Hi, hello, and welcome to the Daily Tarot Buffet brought to you by Vertex of Abundance. My name is Serene Priestess of Losi. I'll be your oracle today. I was sent to deliberate the findings for the transiting moon of Cancer. If you are new, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. It's a delight and an honor and a privilege to serve. Thank you for allowing us the pleasure to do so. If anything resonates deeply with you, go ahead and comment, share, subscribe, leave a review, book a session, send a donation. You belong to Welcome Home. Vertex of Abundance is a galactic temple of ascension, delivering sacred messages from behind the veil. Today, we will be imposing the guidance from Thoth Tarot. That is by Aleister Crowley, excuse me, illustrated by Lady Frida Harris, published by US Game Systems. We'll also be using we will also be deliberating the findings from Cosmic Coven Tarot. That's by Lisa Lazenby over at Ripe Avocado. We use this deck to clarify any type of pairing or matching energy. In addition, we deliberate other findings through the Vita Sibila. That is the daily tarot, a daily oracle by Los Scarabeo. We use that deck to clarify any type of correlative or corresponding energies. If additional decks are used to clarify, we will delineate and deliberate those at this particular time. Just a quick prayer for all the still lost out there to illusion, delusion, confusion. Lost in this is a time trap somewhere in the matrix, yet to heal, yet to awaken, yet to return to the resplendent grace of the divine, unconditional, loving, universal oneness. Ho'oponopono, great spirit, we love you. We're sorry. Please forgive us. Thank you. We ask that our steps be ordered, that our path be illuminated. We ask that we find salvation and redemption in this lifetime. May we all be happy. May we be whole. May we be at peace. May we receive everything we ever wanted, starting with what we deserve. Amen. We have the moon transiting the sign of Cancer, Cancro. So that is interesting because during the Scorpio season, when any energy is transiting the constellation, the sign of Cancer, that's a ninth house event. So the event that we're having is a lunation, also known as a lunar event, a moon event. So there'll be increased insight and intuition into the areas of the ninth house manifesting through or as the energy of the sign. So it's going to be deep, heartfelt, or rooted energy, Cancer. Typically, it gets to the mother or the home or internal or private places and spaces, inside of the car, inside of the home, especially the vanity, the the bedroom, not for what goes on in the bedroom, but like sleeping, security, to retreat away. It talks about comfort, peace, security, literally where we return to rejuvenate, to replenish. Now, it can talk about the home. It also can talk about values that we got during early childhood. The second, third, and fourth house kind of talk about early developmental periods. Now, the fourth house is where we prepare to leave the house, which happens in the fifth house. So, again, mother, alma mater, the waters, whatever that means, the neighborhood, the community, the foundations that we have, or wherever we kind of store the repository of accumulation of memories. We call it the storehouse. Yeah, okay, sometimes it's assets, especially assets that we use to rejuvenate, recuperate, recover. So we're gonna begin to have shifts and changes, insight and intuition into ninth house energies. Okay, so higher minded. It's not the community that we are born into, it's the community that we merge into, especially like worldly communities, especially faith-based, institutional. There may be a little bit of status, or there may be some type of name to the community, or there may be some type of need for entry, barrier to entry that we overcome, things of that nature. We could be going through some system structure of qualification. This little period of the year, when we're in the Scorpio season and the moon is transiting the ninth house, we could begin to see energies about qualifying, especially if we're looking to gain a mortgage, to gain a loan, especially like education or mortgage. We might not be getting it, we might not qualify for it, but we'll get information, insight, intuition to how to do that at another time. And if we've been working through something on something, we'll understand what the last couple few months, couple few cycles, couple few phases of said cycle have been working out. Let's go ahead and get this energy through so we can drill in, dial in to the point. Because what I'm seeing here is that we're dealing with some kind of harsh information. Three of Swords. It's clarifying the Hermit. So we've kind of got to go inside and get to the bottom of something. It's typically within ourselves. We may need to explore, investigate a truth. There may be some kind of structure, terms, conditions, system blocking or impending, impugning, slowing something down. And there might be a bunch of, hoops to jump through. Seven of Cups, excuse me, just for a second. Seven of Cups, Three of Swords is that. It's like needing to jump through hoops, needing to, it's literally, the word for that is qualification. Terms and conditions. Yeah, because what's mirroring this is if we're trying to build a foundation or erect a foundation, it's half done. But whenever you have the Hermit and the Moon card, it means we need to get to the bottom of something. And there may be other parties watching. It does not always mean a physical party, another human, another entity of that nature, but it is an entity. It can be non-corporeal. Because things are latent, things are manifest. I'm literally getting qualification. We could be trying to qualify for something. I've seen several things come through the practice recently. Qualifying for a mortgage, trying to adopt, going through screenings and home visits, whether it's for children or animals. I've seen a child adoption recently. Things of that nature where there's a discovery period. Three of Swords with the Justice, Three of Swords with the Moon card can be a discovery period where things are getting vetted, things are getting underwritten. We're going to work through it and we're going to work through it successfully, but we've got to get into the energy and be dutiful to the energy. Steady on the grind, the hustle, that flow. Now, something's been going on for the last couple few cycles of the moon. It's giving us 6 weeks. We've been building something up in the background and we've been getting ready. We could have had to parcel through documentation. Three of Swords with the Ten of Wands. Okay, and I was talking about adoption, and look, we have Bambino and Maritata. Bambino it's the child, but in these Veda Sibila, since it's like a antiquated deck, it's from the 1600s, it could talk about things that just have a lot of promise that are going to get throw off yields and yields and yields in the future. It's like, you did a whole bunch of sowing before you reap. You did a whole bunch of planting and preparing or investing before you harvest. And so you see the first little sprout, the first little sign that there's going to be a harvest season coming up, and you don't actually know what you're going to yield from the fields or yield from the harvest yet, but there's nothing but promise. With the Maritata here, it talks about nurturing or attending or watching, caring, governing for something. Something will grow out of this, la direta, but it's amalato, meaning it's stuck, it's a malady, it's a sickness, or it's, I'm hearing the word cage, but there's not going to be much movement quickly, and you kind of got to be put in a box where things are considered, or it could actually just talk about something that's protracted here. Now, there's a little vein I'm catching talking about some type of craft work, whether it's spell, witchcraft, tradecraft, statecraft, warcraft, minecraft, don't matter, don't care, so on and so forth, whatever, what have you. Craft work does not always mean abracadabra, hocus pocus, brujeria, santeria, strigeria, benederia. It could mean that there's something tactical been erected as a foundation and it's at work, it's at play. We could be working out from under something or working towards something, and it's one step after the next, laying brick by brick by brick. And I am getting that because we're about to get the Knight of Pentacles here. Okay, so this one thing over the next week, we're going to work through some things that bring out all the different hoops we need to jump through, or experiences that we need to have, or cups that we need to turn over, or things that we need to process. Three of Swords with the Seven of Cups means a lot to process. With the Ten of Wands here, it's saying like over the last 6 weeks, there was just a lot of building things up in the background. Yeah, so there is a creative new beginning, but there's a lot of deliberation and discernment around the Two of Wands with this Fool card. So something's being judged probably by another party. We're under deliberation by another party. And this party might be testing us. This party might be grading us, might be judging us, might be observing us. And again, it doesn't always have to be corporeal. They don't have to be in this realm, in this space. They don't might need to have access to us. They might not even have come through the incarnational cycle. They could be on the other side of the veil, in the upper astral, in the quantum, in the spirit realm. If that's the case and they're non-being, non-corporeal being, it's probably from the maternal side. If they have any type of ancestry. Now there's new strength here, so that could also talk about new nurturing. I'm hearing the word magician for some reason. I don't understand why, but the Fool and the strength card means new strength, new power. It also means a new matron. And then in this case, the way that the cards are used, it can talk about a nurture. Matrons typically run a convent, or like an abbess, or some type of orphanage even. So this could be new adoption, new foster children, and it's new qualification to do such a thing, not a new placement in the home. We do have the home here, Four of Pentacles or the Four of Wands, because we'll talk about the home. It's saying that slowly but surely there's going to be lots of different types of deliberation, and there's just terms and conditions here that we need to qualify for, and it's not going to happen quickly. It's going to take some time. Ten of Wands with the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is the delayed arrival, or the step by step, day by day, minute by minute, task by task. You have to check every little box down the line, and you need to do it in a particular order. So, dotting those I's, crossing those T's, minding those P's, minding those Q's. So, Four of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles could be desiring to secure something, secure a situation. Yeah, because some things that work, some things that play. We're kind of leveraging or yielding or initializing some kind of process. We might have activated some type of mechanism where there's some type of deliberation or judgment. Now, I do want to say we will come out on top. We are that genuine, authentic, sincere article. However, it's not quite up and running yet. We're at the beginning of it. The page is someone that hasn't actually started the process. They're just getting started, or they're being prepared for something. And if for any reason, because we had Two of Swords, Three of Swords, if for any reason with the Fool, Two of Swords, Three of Swords with the Fool, can talk about legal. If for any reason there is some type of deliberation or legally, we're actually on the up and up. We're seen as innocent, and it doesn't even mean that there's a judgment, as if like criminal or charge, or we need to respond to some type of complaints or something. The judgment or the victory will go to us here. It might not seem like it. There might have been some kind of blemish, or there might be a little bit of trepidation or fear, because we can't actually discern falsita. It's not actually clear what it is. Something's been the case all along. It was always going to be like that, and it might not have seemed like that. Okay, so let's see if we can speed up here. It also is saying that over the last month, there's been this slow, steady crawl. Okay, so standing up for love here, and it doesn't always mean romantic love. We also have a double 10, so there's the completing of a cycle. But whenever you have the Fool and the Judgment card, it means standing up for love. It doesn't need to be filial, meaning romantic. It could be congenial, familial. So that could be wanting to take care of someone, wanting to step in for somebody, wanting to care, nurture, wanting to protect, being a guardian. Fool with the Strength card, that could be being a guardian, a powerful guardian. So somebody might need a familial unit. Somebody might need some type of exalted, esteemed place, space, somebody with a name to advocate for them. And we are choosing to be that energy, that entity, that ideology. We have a double 10, as I said, that's some type of culmination of a cycle. Now that this is a little bit down the line in the future, but it's initializing, meaning anchoring into the physical right here, right now, in this part of the cycle. So it's coming to the energetic sphere so that the cycles of the sun and the moon can, because the moon plants the intention and the sun materializes, typically within a 6 month period. I'm not saying that's the cycle. You know, you have a full moon or a new moon, excuse me, you have a new moon where you plant that intention, and 6 months later you have a full moon in that same sign where it should manifest. And I'm saying up to 6 months, not including the eclipse points. This is something that's probably going to manifest in the next couple of months. It's not going to take as much as six. Okay, so we have something here. Yeah, so it is going to be granted and given. We receive favor here, Six of Pentacles for this double 10. So that's a positive. Yeah, but something needs to be overcome, canceled out, or a finality here. So we do need to receive some type of witness, some type of testimony, Three of Cups here, and we're going to need to choose access, leverage something here, Two of Wands. That may also just be we might need to choose to do something. Right now, it's just an option, and we need to make our choice. And so it's going to have to come to pass. Let's say that's the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, meaning it's emerging from a cocoon. Conversazione, speranza, sospiri, l'amante. So right now, it's just a figment of our imagination, or we're waxing philosophically, l'amante here, and then, you know, on the periphery is sospiri. You know, there's a wanting, hoping, wishing, praying, conjuring up some wounding from the past because there's some type of active yearning, and then it turns into a hope, wish, and prayer, and aspiration, heart's desires, soul's ambitions, speranza. At the precipice is conversazione, so there's going to need to be some insight, intuition, or some collaboration, or some type of assent from the environment, surrounding location, whether it's a person, whether it's a place, whether it's a thing, whether we go on Google and get the answers, whether we talk to a mentor, somebody that we trust, whether somebody in a position of power or know-how or access says, hey, this is something that's feasible, you can do it. You just cover these couple few bases over here and over there, and you got it in the bag. Something's going to have to kind of give us that little push. Now, this is a general reading, so I'm trying to make this as general as possible, but I'm really just getting one little thing here. So we have the King and Ten of Swords. That means wanting either enlightenment, wanting finality. You can't be wanting to cancel something out here, but this thing that it's canceling out is it seems like a decisive measure. So because really what it's giving is there is some type of Gemini in the environment surrounding location. We have Gemini Sun, Gemini card here, and then the King of Swords with the Lovers card also talks about a Gemini Sun, or it could be a Virgo rising. Yeah, so now I'm getting two things. So one, we are trying to qualify for something, and it doesn't, I heard the word fellowship. So it's not just, advocating for someone. We may want to go into some healing profession or advocating a profession of advocating, like a fellowship, maybe a medical fellowship or artist in residence or something of that nature. There also is a romantic situation on the horizon. Someone, probably some type of Gemini energy is going to reach out, stand up, say something. There's been some dispiacere, some displeasure. They've been hoping, wishing, praying, conjuring up some wounding from the past because they're yearning, and they're hoping that we either come through, pull through, so they can say something, or they're going to try to make their way to us. I'm getting a few different things. What is this cycle that we're going through right now, please? Now, I've been hearing that song step by step, day by day, exploration. So there's two things. One, we might be trying to enter in a community where we're advocate, where we're not quite ready or prepared for the community. It's not necessarily about experience or our wherewithal. Like we need to qualify. We need to go through some type of screening process, some type of underwriting process. We need to earn some cred. And it's a mystery too, because it's not so much about qualifying as there's a way to present yourself and a structure that needs to be set in place. For instance, if you become an attorney, you need to get malpractice insurance, you need to get a license, you need to get registered, you need to have a firm or something like that. Or if you're going to start driving, okay, well, you need to have car insurance, you need to get a license, you need to get there's some foundational work that needs to be done so that your card carrying member kind of deal. And there is some type of relationship here on looming on the horizon. I don't have the full narrative yet. It just says receiving glory because it's destined. And that's actually for both narratives, the qualifying, because really what I'm hearing is that there's somebody trying to become a fellow, and I don't know the kind of fellowship, although it's a technical license. King of Swords means it's a terminal degree, and it was recently completed. So I don't think it's an artist, but it's some type of fellowship. There's more than just a medical fellowship. And then there's also somebody out there is trying to either become a foster parent or adopt. That's what's coming through. And then somebody else also has a Gemini sun sign approaching them romantically. Okay, so we're needing our destiny and we're needing some kind of foundation, endowment, some type of stable. We need to feel stable in our life. And it's beginning to talk a little bit more about love. There's somebody that wants to be in an active, committed legacy relationship. They're looking for a life partnership. And one or both of us were led to believe that something wasn't working, something wasn't going to happen. They're twin flames, and we're in inner turmoil. For what reason, I don't quite know yet. Let's read this down. So we have a little bit of energy here. Okay. So somebody here could be a Aquarius rising or Leo rising. Somebody here could be a Scorpio moon or moon in the 8th house. They could also be, again, a Leo rising. So we have a Leo rising here. We have a Leo rising here. Because the chapter's ending. It's a completing, actually. And it's giving us that the narrative with this twin flame, okay, is that they're receiving clearance. And they want to be in a committed something. Okay. I recognize our connection was intense and it still burns my soul. It's a connection that can never be broken, but it's one that must be balanced in order to move forward together. Okay. We're in this narrative of I'm bounded physically, mentally, and spiritually. I feel that there's no way out from where I am. I feel imprisoned because of my own doing. I'm trying to fight my inner demons, but it's just so difficult at times. Now, if that's our narrative, it might be what is being reflected or mirrored to us by somebody, because what the cycle, the process is doubting and questioning decisions, feeling worried, conflicted, agitated, unhappy with life choices, fight between mind and the heart. Now, what's at the perimeter, the thing to overcome or surmount, or what's crossing us, challenging us, confronting us, is that there's another narrative, basically wordless. Things are not being said, either adequately, properly, or not being picked up. Things aren't actually being claimed, mentioned. There's so much for me to tell you, but I'm unable to express myself in a rational way, so I'd rather keep quiet, okay? Listen, if we get through this stage, we're going to realize that it was just about inner child healing, okay? I have made and used excuses in order to control or sabotage our connection, but now I realize that the only way to heal is to mend and forgive the past. Now, the higher law here is that there was drinking some Kool-Aid. Somebody gets a misattribution, meaning mislabel, misjudge, misperceive, mistreat, misuse, mistake. And also, they were just, barking at shadows, really. They were listening to flying monkeys, people with their maladaptive, idiosyncratic, perfunctory little opinions. They didn't know too much. They didn't know better. They didn't know enough. They didn't know the specifics of the situation. So they were just parroting off, popping off at the mouth. Somebody probably had our name under their tongue. I'm catching here that somebody was recognizing that their friend was in distress. Instead of trying to attend to the situation and ask how they could be supportive, they just tried to nip it in the bud and say, if you're stressed about this person, let them go, let them be. Maybe they said it in a much harsher way. It says here, listens to others and disregards their own feelings. So this is when you have Gemini on the 7th house, the sun, because we're talking about a Gemini sun, whenever the sun is in the 7th or the 12th house, it's the worst possible placement for the sun to be. Because the 7th house is the house of others, and the sun is very much a for the self kind of thing. The sun is the ego, and the ego doesn't always mean, toxic personality style. Ego is also the sense of self and what you need to do to advocate for the self, to assert the self, and also it's a sense of protection. And yes, the ego could be too much, but it can't be non-existent either. The ego cannot be too much or nothing at all. The ego needs to be somewhere in the middle, or it's unhealthy. You never want to be too far along either side of the spectrum on the ego. Other things, yeah, perhaps non-existent. It's better if it's not there at all, or it's better if there's a lot of it. With the ego, there needs to be just enough. And this is a person who has a very low ego. They're living for other people, maybe their opinion, maybe their needs, maybe they're living for other people's affection, adoration, appreciation, acknowledgement, attention. I don't know. Okay. Knowingly goes along with other people's plans and ideals without thinking about their own well-being. So that's what's driving this situation. If somebody is not asserting themselves, And it's saying here, love is like a punishment. The real love survives the rock steady vibes. So I'm catching that somebody that we're connected to or that's mirroring us in this energy, they're kind of being laughed at because of their affection or their affinity towards us. They're emotionally or spiritually or intuitively connected to us in some way, but they might not have the wherewithal, the language base and language structure to navigate, negotiate that, remain present and participate with that. The fact that there's some type of connection that's imperceivable to them because they haven't probably approached it, claimed it, gone towards it, examined it, investigated it, had enough curiosity about it. They've expressed their curiosity out loud with not, because when you're excited about something and you're dealing with average friends, not great friends, but average friends, average people, you know, um, below average people talk about other people, average people talk about things, above average people talk about ideas. So they were talking to their friends and they didn't get into the ideal space. They got into the arguing and bickering space. When you're excited about something and people start asking you questions and you can answer those questions, people tend to knock the idea down. That's how average people work. I'm just going to say it. And we are dealing with petty, boring, basic, average, ordinary energies. It's not extraordinary. Extraordinary was a couple of few moments ago. This is extraordinary. Six of Wands is extraordinary, means receiving glory. Five of Wands means a karmic cycle. So that's what we have here. Let's actually talk about that just a little bit. Yeah, somebody's a little bit in love with us. And there is a recognition now that wasn't present before. Because where we're at this most particular point in time is over the next week, we're going to start to discover that we've been going through some type of karmic cycle. And the situations reverberated back to the other side, where now they're going to see that this was bottom of the barrel. They were dealing with some kind of ordinary, petty, basic energy in the environment surrounding location. And this is very clear the other side. There's also this massive action that's about to be taken, and it's going to start to repel lower vibrational beings, lower vibrational energies, lower vibrational entities. Now, on our side, firstly, somebody here, either us or them, might have their North Node or Mercury in Aquarius or in the 11th house. So that would mean that they're going towards the collective now, all of a sudden, with a healthier sense. We could experience things but not be affected by it. We could recognize the behavior and recognize the person and separate the two. We have unconditional love and maybe not unconditional tolerance for something, for somebody. We might look at other people and hear what they're saying and hear how much they want to participate or contribute and also realize that they're just not able, they're just not capable. There's a little bit of I'm hearing the word Zedek, so there's some compassion for those who can't really show up. They might be lacking skillfulness. Let's say that. They might be lacking in understanding. And there's a kind of love of humanity, even if the human's a little bit less than desirable, tending to go on now. And also, we may just have out of this, or this other person may have out of this world ideas. So you know, sometimes when we're talking about things that the other people can't imagine or there's no thing to compare it to, they're just gonna knock it down. Robert Marconi, when he first discovered radio, when he told his friends and family they had him institutionalized, not once but twice. And imagine if that had stopped him. We have the Marconi Awards every year. In America alone, there's 300,000 people employed by the radio industry. Could you imagine? I mean, there's, it's kicked off everything, satellites and cell phones and all of that stuff. Imagine if we never had radio waves. What kind of world would we be living in? So this person or us, maybe somebody here, they might be having out of this world ideas, too far in the future, it's too alien. And that's very much Aquarius. But also, we're being recognized here. We're being recognized. something about our energy is being recognized finally when it was overlooked or dismissed before. Okay, so we might have been seen as somebody that needed to be pushed out or competed with when really they're recognizing our true nature, which is that we've been loving this whole time. But and there might be some fear actually as well because it seems like we were trying to give them all this love and trying to give them all this affection or warmth or unconditional love or whatever. Doesn't always have to be romantic, and we just got exhausted. And not that we don't love them anymore, but we might have had to withdraw our energy to protect ourselves. So that'll become clear over the next week because there's going to be some either getting to higher ground or withdrawing our energy. And like I said, there was some type of massive action we were trying to take here. Five of Wands, King of Wands, wanting to repel or wanting to prove a point, wanting to take a stand here. Five of Wands, King of Wands. And honestly, we're going to learn and we're going to discern that it wasn't these, the environment surrounding location, it wasn't something that we could deal with. These people couldn't come and participate adequately with us. They were doing the best they could. It wasn't good enough. Their best was not good enough. Okay. I'm just gonna say it like that, move on, move forward. Now we had a king and queen of wands, so let's check on that. So that's a pairing and a matching. Yeah, so we're receiving grace. The time has come for an acceleration, but we're going to need to get some clarity or strategy about the situation, about what it is, how it is, and what it's going to be. So that wouldn't have been clear right away. You know, we might be holding our ground. We might not be willing to kind of give up ourselves right now because we've given enough. So there's definitely some connection here. So somebody here is in a depressive state or they've become obsessive because they're having some extreme emotions. They probably just finally escaped to the surface. These emotions probably were buried. They were being a little bit of an escapist because they hadn't addressed their childhood wounds. They were drinking the Kool-Aid essentially. We're in this creative, mystical, gentle space and they're feeling dependent, like they let something slip through their fingers, they fumbled, or they didn't, they failed. They failed. It's not even a fumble, it's a fail. Now, there's a narrative here. Somebody is a little bit too focused. They were too focused on their goals or their career. They maybe took something for granted, or they had an expectation that was unrealistic or unmitigated or unexpressed. Unfortunately, they realized that the weight wasn't fair. Maybe it might not have been talked about, agreed upon. It might have been imposed instead of like mentioned, like, "Hey, this is not going to happen right away." Just letting you know. Basically, they somebody, either us or them, didn't put the other one first. And there's a narrative here about juggling. They've had a hard time processing what happened between us, juggling their own personal responsibilities, and they need time to deal with everything. But nothing's coming together because when you see the King and Queen of Pentacles, it means that it's actually quite possible to, yeah, but they, again, ooh, and see, remember we were talking about Aquarius, they're learning a lot too. It's not just that they're future paced or whatever. They're beginning to enter into a frame of mind that's broadening the horizons beyond anything that's measurable or fathomable. The It's off the chain, it's off the scale now. The things that they're learning, the intuition or the insight that they have into the situation, which in the previous cycle it would have been unfathomable that they unconscionable that they could even stumble into those kind of facts and opinions or truths. Now, they were receiving unrelatable or unsympathetic advice. It was kind of surrounded by unpleasant opinions. It created a lot of doubt and denial of our connection, easily influenced by others and their viewpoints. So this also applies to this um, if we're preparing for some type of fellowship or adoption as well. There might not have been support around this from our inner circle because it's ego driven. There's a lot of self-interest here or proven by the need, driven by the need to prove something. And it doesn't always have to be the person that we're connected to. Sometimes the people in their life or the people in our life feel the need to prove something, so they'll interfere or interject or interact or intervene in a way for their own ego. Sometimes people will impose something on us because they're regulating themselves or their own feelings by interrupting, interfering, interjecting, interceding in our life. It's really bad form, but this does happen, especially the lower in vibration you go. So yeah, this was something that it's on its fall. So for those in the northern hemisphere, it might have been somewhere between September 22nd, November 6th. If this should have came through. Today is November 6th was yesterday. So it should have came through in that time. For others of us, it's the fall archetype. Now, again, if you're not in the northern hemisphere, fall actually is an archetype. Okay. So fall means that we've reached the pinnacle, we've reached the zenith, and it's beginning to decline. So we're starting to see that the opportunity is not so much available anymore, that something needs to be captured or preserved, or there might be some type of loss that we actually should be preparing not for abundance, but we should be preparing for scarcity, not through a scarcity mindset, but we should be mindful about how we use and what our intention is. It's a sunsetting kind of energy here. Okay, yeah, and so there's also spring. So in the past, there was some type of blossoming, but that blossoming is over. And the reason why this took a long time to come through, whether we took our time with this qualification for the fellowship or adoption, or this other person, if it's romantic, took their time, was because they were juggling healing and all these odious opinions around them. They didn't know how to pull through on that, not adequately, not successfully. And then now we have Gemini. So they're kind of indecisive right now, a little bit unstable or fickle, but they're feeling bored now and impulsive because they were unreliable and nosy at some time while we were adaptable, energetic, witty, outgoing, intelligent, curious, or they were that. They were curious and we were a little bit pessimistic, unreliable, or indecisive. So the ultimate or the final discernment on that is that we're in a cycle of healing right now, and somebody might try to juggle us. They might try to come back, even though they've been gone for some time, or the situation kind of slowed or dried up. They're going to try to pull through again. The narrative here is we keep replaying the same story over and over and over again, and it never ends well. When are we going to do better so we can be better? I'm also detecting, because they were saying twin flame, we probably had multiple lifetimes of this hot and cold, yes and no, in and out, up and down, start and stop kind of thing, kind of ting. So we might be a little bit fed up about it. But there is some type of spiritual justice here. It's literally karma. We're being recognized as children's rights as well. So we were mistreated, mistaken, misperceived. And also, we have to be the bigger, brighter, and better person. I'm not saying that we need to tolerate, horse pucky, malarkey, baloney. But if we spot it, it's because we got it. And also, if we can sense what's going on, we might need to say something about it, or we might need to model the behavior, model the image, model the idea of doing the right thing, being the right thing, going about it, doing the right thing, being better about it. I want to know what the stand that we're taking, because we're coming out from the Five of Wands going to the Seven of Wands. Things were kind of tacky or petty, but now there's some type of courage here. Allegrezza al cuore. Somebody might need to kind of go after what they want, because the situation's been there all along, and they're probably just now recognizing. They were always going to recognize. I feel like part of this cycle was to recognize that we were stuck in some kind of way. So we were beating our head against the wall. Okay, I don't understand, because this is not a one-on-one. This is a general reading. But I just heard somebody here has been trying to have children in the conventional way, or somebody was witnessing another person suffering, and all along something that came to them a long time ago but now has circled the block, spun the block, is adoption. Or somebody was told to do something, I'm hearing, through a place. Okay, I'm just going to say, because my intuition is giving, somebody's supposed to get a residency or a fellowship at John Hopkins, and they picked it up and put it down and went on to look at other fellowships, and then they kind of came back. I'm also hearing that for the romantic situation, it was always going to be that way, where this person couldn't see us adequately. They were always going to listen to their friends. It was always going to be stuck on stupid, acting stupid, looking stupid, playing stupid. And then their heart had to fall all the way down to the ground. They had to kind of get dejected and lose faith in their friends, because they needed to learn to think for themselves and to really go with what they felt. They didn't need to play it safe, not in the traditional way. Yeah, play it safe, you know, sometimes in certain ways, but in matters of the heart, sometimes you have to take a step, and then the next step will appear. Somebody also was trying to get pregnant conventionally, or excuse me. Somebody was trying to have a child in the normal conventional way, and they knew early on, or they were told by the universe early on, that it wasn't going to pan out that way, and that adoption was always going to be the way that they were able to be a parent. And so they went through a cycle. But part of the reason why the cycle took so long is because there was some type of inner child. And so now they're finally back to the drawing board in the original place that they started, however, a long time ago. For some of us, it was a year ago. For some of us, it was just a couple months ago. Now, over the next week, there's going to be some type of aha moment where we learn that we contributed to the situation. We need to take a stand, because we were the one to kind of contribute. We played a part in something. Yeah, so there's some despair and displeasure, desperato per gelosia and dispiacere. We're brought to tears, or they are, because we realized that it was right there all along. It was said to us and it was told. And we wasted a lot of time at Derrante. We wasted a lot of time. We've been playing games here. This could have been us, but we've been playing games. Yeah. So one thing it's said twice now, that there's great spiritual power. So we've made it, but something does need to be detached from. Okay, this is confusing. Something does need to be detached from, but we've made it. Over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we detached from a situation and it actually completed the whole thing. We let go of something, I feel. Four of Cups, Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups is making it, being secure in the soul, like in the spirit. Yeah, we found hope, trust in a bigger, brighter, better futures. But also, it talks about being like a priestess, basically being aligned with the divinity of the universe. We went inside and found God. That's literally what it's saying. I'm sorry, I can't come up with other words. Excuse me, I should say. Excuse me, I don't know another way to say that. That was the thing, though. Whatever we let go and surrender to the divine, it made something click here. Because now on the other side, this whatever energy is mirroring us, whether it's our future self or higher self or another person, they're coming into their own, which is being safe and secure in the self-worth, self-value, secure in the self because they built themselves up from the inside out. And the tables have to turn. So it is a night and day kind of situation. It's a switch. It was once this and now it's this. It was once A and now it's B. It was once Z and now it's A. It was once a yes, now it's a no, or vice versa. We have a double nine here, which means completion. And somebody's finally come into their own. They've learned their own skill as well. And again, it's very much about self-worth and value. And here it's saying that they were under a lot of projection, or we were, but this is the projections in the position of another. It's not our energy here. So we secured the situation or were protected from the situation because there was a lot of projection. And it was a trial. It was a tribulation for this other side, this energy that's mirroring us. And they finally passed, but the only thing that made them pass was because they found out about boundaries and standards, and they realized that the people around them didn't really want to see them have love or joy in their life. They wanted to be right, and they wanted to keep the person the way that they were, broken, unhealed, unawakened. And I don't mean the whole negative of that, but sometimes people in our life don't want to see us building a bigger, brighter, and better life because it means that they're not going to have the same access to us that they currently have. And it's not always a bad thing. They're not saying don't succeed, don't become brighter, don't become better, but they get scared because we're making changes that they can't keep up with or that they don't understand really. Now, there's some kind of Venus in the sixth house, Venus and Virgo here. So somebody really refined themselves and found they've created some type of system, internal system. They probably literally gave words to their values, gave words to their boundaries and standards, even if they didn't share them outwardly with another person. Inside themselves, they said, okay, well, if this doesn't go this way, then I'm going to do this. Or if a person doesn't, celebrate my growth, then they're cut off or whatever. They kind of had that dialogue within themselves and then they executed on it. Because we're coming into some shadow here, and it's not particularly pleasant. It's saying that they realized that they were around some bad seeds. The temperance and the devil mean a bad seed among others. It's that whole one fat apple won't spoil the whole bunch, girl. Yeah, from the other side. Yeah, they had to get with the divine. They had to choose the light, and they had to extricate, militari, they had to extricate themselves from a situation because they realized that the people that looked fancy smancy around them really weren't worth nothing. And I said it that way on purpose. They were going to be stuck. They were going to end up, I mean, this was fanaticism. You can hear what I'm trying to say. It was fanaticism. There's a couple other few things here. There could be some type of Libra rising energy here, especially if, you know, Jupiter was on the first house, so they really were loyal. They really, ride or die. However, also they wanted to feel like they had franchise autonomy and control over their life. However, there could have been some type of Gemini rising energy, or they were going through something during a Gemini event, mainly Gemini season, where they just got kind of stuck and they were attending to the situation, trying to make it better, trying to heal. And then they realized, listen, I'm putting all this time, energy, effort, and attention into this. It's not working. It's not improving. It's getting worse. It's making me feel worse. I need to go. I need to choose myself. I need to have some standards and boundaries. And if I stay here, I'm confined. I'm stuck. So I need to do whatever to extricate, to pull myself away so that I could be at peace, because this is, disturbing my peace. And that's what it was. That there was something here where they had to, be strategic about how they got out of it, and they did. And that gave them all the clarity that they needed to know. Now we have a double four, and the double four here means moving to the next stage. So again, getting back to that qualifying energy, it's all qualifying here. There's a higher minded, with the ninth house, there's a higher minded vision. You can see the future, and the future is bigger, brighter, and better. Destined success, carried in the Wheel of Fortune. Because love had to be contained here, and it doesn't have to be filial love, meaning romantic. It could be congenial. The hopes, wishes, and dreams and desires here get actualized. We have a double four here, which means that we're moving into some kind of higher ground. And it's because there's a covering, a calling on our life here. But also, it took a while to secure the situation. There was a lot of attending, and the tables had to turn. If we were in a karmic cycle, we had to get out from underneath it. And it could be the person that is mirroring us as well here. So over the next 2 weeks, we're going to move forward on love in some kind of way, shape, form, or another. Or love, two of cups is love, but it also could just mean being on the same page, being in sync. Is destined victory or destined to be self-employed? That's what the chariot and the wheel of fortune mean. And I'm getting both because there were blockages, and the blockages were the beliefs that we had and the people that we were around. That's what we were dealing with. And we come out from underneath that, and the situation changes. So there's a little bit of rage here, I'm gonna say, because um, we go through some type of initiation, chariot and the high priestess. Also, there's luck in unluck, there's fortune and misfortune with the tower and the wheel of fortune. And then before, we were dealing with the cycle of something having to do with business. And before, we were dealing with the cycle of broadening our horizons, going towards whatever it took to heal. And this is saying that we're finally exercising or seizing something that was delayed. We were the last to get the message, but it was very clear to kind of everyone around us. Because there needed to be an ideological change. Five of Pentacles, it does mean, poverty or hardship, but it also means withdrawing. and being left out, maybe abandoned or exiled, the last thing it would mean stinking thinking. And it's not always stinking thinking the kind that makes you pessimistic and boring. It can, but it's oftentimes the basis and the foundation of the Five of Pentacles before all the other meanings is that there's something ideological that needs to change. That's the lesson in the Five of Pentacles, is there needs to be an augmentation ideologically. So somebody here has survived a hardship because there's some type of place that they should be. And they were invited to some type of calling or union, sacred union. And I think that they're going back to try to work on that, but changes need to be made. Because they're desiring to contain a situation. Desire, Knight, to contain a situation, Knight and Four of Swords. Knight of Swords, Four of Swords, desiring to contain a situation. Page of Swords, Two of Cups. This is feeling on the same page, but the swords, instead of it being cups, means it's delayed. The Page of Swords is a delayed message or bad news. So it's been a delight and an honor and a privilege to serve. Thank you for allowing us the pleasure to do so. I'm going to check really quickly on this rage that I'm feeling, because the High Priestess and the Tower is rage. Somebody's just upset that they took so much time waking up or coming to equilibrium in the situation. They're feeling like time was wasted unnecessarily. We're going to pull from the Believe in Your Own Magic Oracle by Amanda Lovelace. Yeah. So I keep getting this card. It's come out in every reading. Mirror, treat your body like the palace that it is. So it actually says, like, if things make you uncomfortable, leave. We shouldn't be sitting in distress or a lack of peace. If something is costing us our peace, we can't afford it. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, if it's a job, it doesn't matter how hard we work for it. If when we get it, or the cost to protect it and to retain it means that we're sitting there in distress, in turmoil, or in uncomfortability, it's not right. It's not right. Because it's time for healing, not war. And war could mean being rubbed wrong. Could we need to release some type of guilt here and focus on the here and now, and so that we can start a revolution, meaning make massive change? That's what this five of the Queen of Wands and the Five of Wands means that we went through a hardship to protect ourselves, and that was the right choice. So it's been an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to serve. Thank you for allowing us to do so. Until we meet again, until we read again, namaste and ashe. Sayonara, das vidanya. Take good care. See you in the next one. Bye bye.